Greetings, my glorious Adeptus Custodes. Today I will tell you the truth. And it is, alas, not the truth known in every corner of the Imperium, for our dark past is full of bitterness and suffering. Well, you know me. You know my dream and my purpose. To the vast majority of you, I am a god, a deity sitting on the golden throne of Terra, a guide, a ruler, a higher power to whom you offer your prayers for help and deliverance. Quadrillions of people throughout the galaxy bear my image and worship me in countless forms. For over 100 centuries I have sat motionless on the golden throne of Terra. By the will of the gods I am the lord of mankind, and rule 1,000,000 worlds through the might of my innumerable armies. I am a rotting half-corpse whose unseen agony is prolonged by the arcane devices of the dark age of technology. I am the decaying lord of the Imperium, to whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day. But it wasn't always like this. How could this happen? What led to it? Today I will try to remember it. Let's begin. Who are you? People call me the Emperor of Mankind. I am one of the immortals of eternity, the ruling monarch of the human empire. They call me the Father, Guardian, and God of all mankind. The last name, however, has always annoyed me. The deities of chaos and the demons of the warp call me Anathema, for I am the current pillar of universal order in the galaxy. But it was not always so. Long ago, when the unholy entities of the warp, who later became the 4 great forces of chaos, were not yet fully formed, I came into existence. It was about 8,000 years BC in the central region of ancient Anatolia. Even before my birth, the human race was growing and evolving, and the disturbances caused by dark feelings in the depths of the collective subconscious began to intensify in the immaterium. For this reason, human psychers gradually lost the ability to reincarnate in new bodies. After death, their souls were devoured by demons and other inhabitants of the warp. Sooner or later, human psionics would completely disappear, and without shamans guiding the entire race with their abilities, humanity would inevitably fall victim to the temptations of chaos, as later happened to the Eldar. You can read more about it in the chapter of my diary devoted to the history of the Eldar. And so, in ancient times, all the psychers of the earth gathered for a grand council to discuss how to delay the day when they would all be swallowed up by the immaterium. As a result, the shamans decided to combine all their magical energy to be reborn in a single body with a single soul, and thus create a personality they called New Man. Afterward, thousands of psychers simultaneously took the poison and passed away. Their spiritual essence rushed into the immaterium with a stream of psionic power that swept away all demons trying to devour with a purifying flame. Because of this unquenchable flame, a common soul emerged, and 1 tyrannical year later, a boy was born. I was born. I was born in an Anatolian settlement of pastoralists and farmers to a completely ordinary family with a mother and father, brothers and sisters. I even had a name, Neot. I possessed such powerful psi abilities that my genome and body structure changed while I was still an embryo. Plus, I was eternal. This spared me the need for reincarnation and the danger of demonic creatures attacking my soul in the immaterium. As I grew older, my innate psionic skills began to manifest. For 38,000 Terran years of human history, I have wandered Terra. Initially, I just followed the successes and failures of civilizations. But soon I began to help people wherever possible, seeing the potential in them. Relying on my ancient knowledge, I spread effective forms of government, methods of agriculture and animal husbandry, as well as setting up industry and stopping wars. During those eras, I cautiously influenced the life of society, laboring under the mask of an ordinary man and not revealing my true nature. I tirelessly observed the development of the human race while never revealing my identity. Traveling all over the globe, I have studied and promoted the culture, religion, and scientific tendencies of the people. Sometimes I assumed a false identity, becoming a great leader or a sage. At different times, I've had the opportunity to play the role of a crusader, a religious leader, or even a mission. But more often than not, I've stayed in the background, playing the role of royal advisor, court wizard, or cutting-edge scientist. Many of my false personas were humble and unassuming, while others left an indelible mark on world history or matters of faith. In times of crisis, I have always guided humanity down a narrow path to survival that I alone know. The human race prospered, but the disturbance in the immaterium continued to grow. I recognized that the newborn forces of chaos were feeding on the energy of the radical aspects of human nature, and sought to establish peace and harmony on old Terra. Alas, I have not been able to purge people of their inborn traits of ambition, the spirit of contradiction, the thirst for battle glory and complacency. Some of my designs have also failed. The seeds of wisdom I sowed either failed to germinate or gave rise to monstrous shoots, resulting in entire eras of persecution and wars. The great entities of the immaterium sensed my presence and my attempts to stop the growth of their power, later calling me anathema. The pernicious forces of chaos had not yet gained full self-awareness, but they already saw me as their worst enemy. The first of the 4 warp lords to fully form was Khorne, and a wave of conflict and warfare swept across old Terra, marking his birth. Tzeentch appeared next, and soon the planet developed states leading duplicitous political intrigue. As soon as Nurgle took place, epidemics broke out across the continents, killing many souls in the glory of the Lord of Decay. But one chaos god still slumbered. Later, thousands of years later, he would be summoned to life by another reckless race, the Eldar. As my abilities improved, I realized more and more clearly what terrible threats awaited the people of the universe. I resolved to defend my race with all my might and lead it into a future where the people of Terra would become the dominant species in the galaxy. The last centuries of the Dark Age of technology saw a dramatic increase in the proportion of mutant children born with the Psyker gene, which allowed them to harness the powerful energy of the immaterium. The emergence of many uncontrollable psionics led to nightmarish consequences, and humanity was plunged into the darkness of the Age of Discord. It was then that I realized I must intervene more directly and openly in human affairs. After the fall of the Eldar and the birth of Slaanesh at the end of the 30th millennium, the warp storms that had hindered flight from the solar system and interstellar communication subsided. That's when I decided it was time for me to personally change the course of human history and save the race from inevitable extinction. Throughout the eras, I have communicated with creatures like myself, the Eternals, a new round of human evolution. You can read more about the Eternals in the chapter of my journal devoted to the creation of the Primarchs. Among the Eternals was a woman named Olivia Sureka, the second oldest of the Eternals, who had existed since the dawn of humanity and was a powerful Psyker empath. Along with me and a few other Eternals, we traveled aboard a spaceship to the nightly planet of Molech. There we discovered a warp gate leading to a realm of chaos. Olivia was left to guard the warp gate while I stayed there, gaining the power to create Primarchs. At my request, Olivia remained on Molech to watch over the gate. What was in the warp gate? I cannot tell the whole truth, not even in these pages. I walked through the gate alone and faced all 4 gods of chaos. My daring plan was to make a deal with the Great Four. They would give me even more power than I already had, and in return I would sacrifice the galaxy I had conquered. Of course, I never intended to keep that promise. My real goal was the triumph of humanity over every enemy in the galaxy, including the pernicious forces of chaos. Perhaps I was overconfident, which in the end was my own undoing. And so, at the end of the 29th millennium, I revealed myself to the world. One day I came to the capital of one of the many barbarian states of war-torn Terra with my followers, and in one night completely conquered its entire territory. At first, I was considered just one of the many despots who fought to dominate Terra at the end of the Age of Discord. I managed to defeat opposing tyrants in a series of campaigns later called the Unification Wars of Terra. I was able to maximize my tactical skills, as well as use various units made up of genetically enhanced soldiers in these conflicts. For example, the Geno 5-2 Hyliad Regiment, which later became part of the Imperial Army, was one such unit. The most powerful of such fighters were the Proto-Astartes, called Thunder Warriors. Created as living weapons, the Thunder Warriors were physically stronger, more fierce, and more durable in combat than the later created Astartes, though they were less long-lived. The Thunder Warriors contributed significantly to the final victory over the remaining rulers of Terra. Such success led me to believe that I would need an even more effective army of genetically engineered soldiers and commanders to realize future plans to unite humanity. After the Battle of Mount Ararat in the Kingdom of Urartu, the final battle in the wars for Old Terra, I had finally achieved my goal. Achieved the unity of Terra after decades of bloodshed, fires, and loss. However, it was not enough to win a military victory. The healing and restoration of humanity required much more. This triumph was a milestone that marked the unity of the world and all its inhabitants under my rule. But at that moment, I was already dreaming of galactic domination that would include all of humanity's fragmented colonies. I realized that for such a dream to come true, I had to make hard, even immoral decisions. The Thunder Warriors had accomplished their task, and it would be dangerous to keep them alive in peacetime. Despite their countless victories during the Unification Wars, the Thunder Warriors were far from perfect. Some were mentally unstable. Others had suffered severe biological changes after many years. Their own seemingly mighty superhuman physiques turned against themselves. I realized from the beginning that the future Imperium needed a more permanent and sustained force of mighty warriors. So even as the Thunder Warriors waged war in my name, I gathered around me a team of scientists and genetic engineers, some willing and others prisoners, and built new genetics laboratories deep in the countless dungeons beneath my fortress in the Himalayan mountains. The labor there continued for many decades in absolute secrecy, and thanks to the most ancient eternal, Erda, led to the creation of the Primarchs and many other marvels of genetic craft. Nevertheless, chief among these genetic marvels were the 20 legions of space troopers, the legions of Astartes. All the secrets of history and the genetic knowledge of the Age of Discord, the hard wisdom gleaned from the successes and failures of the Thunder Warriors, who were the prototypes of the space troopers and the fruits of the Emperor's inimitable genius, were invested in their creation. First among the space troopers were hand-picked men from my personal bodyguards. You may know them as Legio Custodes or Adeptus Custodes. These volunteers were surgically, genetically, and psychologically modified. With rigorous training and appropriate psychological preparation, they became warriors, not just very strong and tough, but disciplined, acquiring an iron will and determination whose loyalty to the Emperor was unwavering. The process was rapidly refined and systematized, and the ranks of the new genetically enhanced warriors, first armed and uniformed like the Thunder Warriors, were constantly swelling. They were organized into 20 excellent regiments, numbering at first no more than a few hundred warriors each. You can read more about this in my diary chapter on the creation of the Primarchs and the chapter on the Adeptus Custodes. Realizing the gravity of this transgression, I ordered the elimination of all surviving Thunder Warriors. This would clear the way for their successors, the Primarchs, and the Legion of Astartes. After that, I proceeded with my plan to protect and improve humanity scattered among the countless stars. To gather under the aegis of the newborn Imperium all the bastions of my race lost in space, I began a campaign of unprecedented proportions called the Great Crusade.